Hello viewers, welcome to Science TV, where we have inclusive and also we make sure we include every people to participate in our programming, in our news. I am your host, Videlis Njoki, and that is my sign name. We want to share the news that happened within our country and also international and also in the world. Whatever happens, we'll share with you whatever happens, the breaking news in the world, the sad news that is part of our top stories. The murder, the mysterious murder of teacher Albert Ojwang, who died at the police station. So to get more of this, join me here at 1 p.m. that the continuous of demonstration will come to an end and justice for Albert Ojwang will be served on his death, because the reason for his murder is very mysterious, and this has sparked a lot of public interest because he was a teacher and he has died. On to our next news item. The Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has issued a public statement saying there should be an individual, criminal, and collective responsibility for people involved in the murder of Albert Ojwang. Speaking in Kitui, as he led Kenya Kwanza leaders in the empowerment program, the leaders have said the government does not support extrajudicial killings and any form of criminal demise. The second in command was flanked by presidential aide Farouk Kibet, among other leaders, to continue their program of gifting the public on freebies and personal development projects like uplifting businesses and empowerment of youth and women groups to start and run businesses.
Amekufa katika seli ya polisi, lazima achukuliwe hatua ya sheria, ndio tuwe na taifa nzuri. Kwa mambo ya crime, kwa mambo ya hatia, mwenye aliumiza huyo mtoto ako na individual criminal responsibility. Kama kuna mtu alimtuma ama kuna mtu alimuamuru, ako na command responsibility. Tunalaani ile kitendo ambayo ilifanyika ya
We hope that Albert Ojwang's death, they will get justice to the family, because he was just a normal teacher and the voice he made was made on social media. So the deputy president said the government does not support the extrajudicial killing, but the question remains, and the big question remains, who is behind the murder? On to our next news item. The national government has allocated a total of 28% of the budget to education sector in the country in the just read 2025-2026 financial year budget. The Teacher Service Commission leads with a 387.2 billion shillings. Moreover, the allocation of 5.9 billion shilling for national examinations and 3 billion shillings for school feeding program has created a lot of contrasts. The parents now are still asking if they will be forced to go into their pockets to partially pay for national examinations.
to enhance infrastructure development and provide a safe learning environment in our schools, I have proposed an allocation of 1.7 billion for primary and secondary schools infrastructure and 1.4 billion for construction and equipping of technical training institutes and vocational training centers. In addition, I have proposed 13.3 billion for the Kenya Primary Education Equity in Learning Program, 41.5 billion to the Higher Education Loans Board for provision of loans to university and TVET students, and this has increased from 35 billion to 41.5 billion for health. Another 16.9 billion for scholarship for university students and 7.7 billion capitation and scholarship for TVET students.
The previous budget about this financial year has been read. You can put in, for more information, you can put in for your information and your input and your concern. And also the parents' concern, they were just concerned about paying the school fees for their national examination for their kids. On to our next news item. The Kenya national government is planning to borrow at least 923 billion in this proposed financial year to clear the deficit from 4.29 trillion shillings budget. The Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Bandi is now urging for a strict financial protection and discipline in order to reduce appetite for public borrowing that is leading to rise in public debts. The borrowing will comprise a 287 billion shilling loan from external lenders and 635 billion facility from the local market, which will increase the public debt, with the current debt mark already reaching at 11.3 trillion shillings as of March 30th, 2025.
Funding instruments such as debt swaps, diaspora bonds, sustainability-linked bonds, and an environmental, social, and governance debt instrument to fund budget deficit and manage public debt.
Debt is a big problem for us, and that is the reason why, if you've seen the fiscal deficit which we are working with, we are moving from a fiscal deficit of 8% during the former regime to 4.74% in this financial year that we are starting. That's a very big improvement.
The young boys that we're seeing in the street, their children and their grandchildren already owe more than 100,000 to the foreigners out there. So we need to stop. We need to start living within our means.
Whenever the government is out there in the market borrowing massively, what happens is that interest rates go up because they are creating demand for loans.
With the current budget that is continuing to be read, the government will require to have loans so that they can facilitate the projects, so that for the impact of development of our country. On to our next news item. The importers of food products, especially wheat and rice, will now enjoy cut imports charges from the budget read by the Cabinet Secretary, Treasury, John Bandi. For the first time in decades, consumers of beer and hard drinks will pay less for their drinks as the manufacturers of spirit and beverages reduced by half the initial charges. According to John Bundy, the finance bill is proposing to reduce the excise duty rate of 500 shilling per liter for alcohol that contains more than 90% alcohol strength that will be distributed to licensed spirits and wine sellers. That is good news.
To amend the Excise Duty Act to provide an excise duty rate of 500 shillings per litre for anti-natured extra neutral alcohol above 90% strength supplied to licensed spirituous beverage manufacturers. Imported plastic products, including plates, self-adhesive plastics, and printed polymers, will be subjected to excise duty at 25% of the excise value, or 200 per kilogram, whichever is higher. The bill proposes to amend the Excise Duty Act to bring non-resident persons without a physical presence in Kenya into the tax net when they supply accessible services through these mediums.
About the wines and spirits and alcohol beverages, because the tax will be reduced on a substantive percentage. We expect more and more changes and a positive feedback from our citizens. And also the owners of the business now will have a lot of benefits. For news, that's all. We'll take a short commercial break, and then we'll be back to inform you more on sports news. With who?